Hello everyone, and welcome once again to the Heir's Lair. I'm your host, Jonathan Taylor. Today's video, as I assume the title already gave away, is an ARC, or Advanced Reading Copy, review. And the book I have received an advanced reading copy of is The Mermaid and the Pearl by Rosalind Breyer. I already reviewed one of her books in the very early days of my channel, before I even scripted my videos. And this book is, I can confirm this book is set in the same world as that one. Also, in case you're interested in acquiring it, this book is currently available for pre-order as part of the Realm of Darkness Fantasy Romance Anthology. I can't say anything about the other books in the anthology because I haven't read them, so I'll only be talking about The Mermaid and the Pearl. And because it is not out yet, I'm gonna have to be even more spoiler-free than I usually am, or at least try to. Nevertheless, I can give you a TLEW of how this review, of what the content of this review is. This book is a very good example of its genre, with a lot of interesting narrative twists and turns that really serve to highlight the imagination and passion that the author brings within all of her work, as can be attested by her distinctive narrative pull and emotional pull and narrative flair. Yeah, I had two expressions in mind, and I kind of mixed them up. Never mind. So if you are a fan of or interested in fantasy romance, this book is very much a great addition to your reading list. Now let's get to the actual review. I could start by talking about the very interesting cast of characters that Rosalind has developed for this story. I could talk about how the narrative has a lot of twists and turns that really allow these characters to shine through and demonstrate what they are, what they are like. I could even talk about the setting and how Rosalind manages to blend both the familiar and the foreign in order to create a world that most of her readership will find at the very least interesting. But none of that really goes to the core, to the essence of what really defines this book. So what is it that really defines this book? A very simple observation I made, namely that The Mermaid and the Pearl is, for all intents and purposes, a printed version of a Disney Renaissance movie. It can afford to be a little more descriptive with some of its elements. It can afford to linger a little bit on certain scenes that where it is needed. It can give more characters more complex backstories and personalities. It can explore darker, more unusual, and outright disturbing elements of the world. And it can even be much hornier than a Disney Renaissance movie could even dream of being. But really, these are just touch-ups and logical expansions given the format. If you look at how this book is put together, you'll realize that it is basically a Disney Renaissance movie, and everything that really distinguishes this book, for both for good and for ill, stems from it being built atop of this framework. I'll now start by talking about the elements that really make up this book. Starting with the negatives, because they are the easiest to get through, and because they quite strangely mirror the negatives of her previous work. And they can be divided into two categories, basically. First of which is world building. For the most part, the world building is actually done very well, to the point where just calling it competent would feel like an insult. But there are certain elements that don't really fit. There are certain details that seem not to match with the way the rest of the world is put together. For example, some items that the characters use, or the ways they use them. Some turns of phrase that seem strange given given the circumstances, or certain societal attitudes that seem out of place with the kind of society that Rosalind is trying to demonstrate. Though some readership might some of her readership might find that charming. But for me, however, that is not my case. So even if some of her readership will find those elements charming, I don't. The second category revolves around the villains of the piece, and namely about how their threat level seems to escalate quite suddenly, right at the point of the final showdown, leaving the final showdown in and of itself perhaps not being as satisfactory as Rosalind herself really would have wanted it to be. These are not catastrophic failures, however. It's more like she stumbled across the finishing line. So yeah, now the negatives out of the way, what can I say are the positives of this book? If I am to be completely honest, almost everything else. Like, not kidding. This book is actually very well put together. I've already mentioned that the cast of characters is overall very interesting, and they all have backstories that really complement their behaviors and their past. And pretty much every named character has a non-zero level of characterization and their own distinctive role within the story, which makes them all distinctly memorable, even if not always for the right reasons. Your mileage may vary. Your mileage may vary as to how much you will actually like these people, but they are still interesting characters in their own right. The narrative itself is also filled with a lot of twists and turns, but these twists and turns don't come suddenly. They are presented in a way that helps highlight who these characters are and how they would react within within the circumstances that their surroundings bring them in. There is a great synergy. There's a great synergy between the narrative and the characters. No one's doing dumb shit because that's what would bring the story forward. It is very much their actions very much drive the story, and they drive the story in some very interesting directions. Also, the setting is for the most part very well done. Rosalind knows how to draw on the expectations and precepts of her audience in order to really present a broad and comprehensive and engaging view of her view of the worlds that she is writing about, and knows how to make them seem as engaging and exciting as though you would read about something like this for the first time. Another thing she is very good at when it comes to both her setting and her characterization is merging these two and making these characters seem authentic to the setting in a way that makes sense and is plausible, and you get a great glimpse into all of their perspectives and mindscapes, and really see them not just as products of their environment, but more like uniquely flavored outgrowths of it, which is very interesting to behold. Also, did I mention that this book is horny? Not that there's anything wrong with that. In fact, quite the contrary. A lot of these, a lot of the segments where that particular aspect of the writing comes up are among the best written ones, as they really showcase the care, the affection, and really the passion that Rosalind has, not just towards the story, but also towards her characters, and how she knows to play with the focus that she presents her story through. That focus through which she presents her story does sometimes lead to some melodramatic segments throughout it, but thankfully the book never dwells on them. Overall, in spite of some missteps, I think this book very much stands out as a romantic thrill ride, which is almost guaranteed to offer something for every kind of reader. My final rating for The Mermaid and the Pearl is a 4 out of 5. And that was my review. Thank you for your attention. If you enjoyed it, well then please leave a like and maybe even share this video wherever you think other people will like it as well. If you have anything you'd like to add to any part of what I just said, the comment section awaits your input. And if you want to see when my next video gets released, well then please subscribe. And ideally also ring the bell or do whatever else YouTube will ask of you in order to keep you notified. My own book, Heir to the Empire the Next Generation, is available at most major book retailers under a master link in the description down below. Right past my social media, which I also suggest you check out should you feel so inclined. Until next time, I'm Jonathan Taylor, and this has been The Heir's Lair.